Peligro, peligro para Colombia. David Luiz le pegó.
We hope that you could only be as excited to be tuning into episode 38 of Rookies Roundup as every Univision commentator who has ever broadcasted the World Cup. Welcome to episode 38 of Rookies Roundup. I am Jake Liker. It's After Dark Edition. We're going to say it's July 7th because both my co-hosts are in Central Standard Time right now. So it's 12:37 a.m. there, but here on the Pacific Coast it's 10:37. So whether it's July 6th or July 7th, it doesn't matter. You're probably not listening to this show live, because I didn't post it on social media at all. It'll probably be released tomorrow night, Monday night. So, yeah. But right now, it is 10:37 p.m., and I am with my co-host, Noah Taborda, who's finally back in America. We have Carl, who is in Minnesota. So I'm going to go with the one I feel more sympathy with. I'm so sorry that you have to be in Minneapolis right now, or wherever. Virginia, Minnesota? Whatever it is, Carl, please.
Not in Virginia anymore. Oh, I get to start, yay. I'm not even, I'd be happy if I was in Minneapolis. It's not bad here or anything. Minnesota's a nice state. It's not awful. So yeah. Ooh, so shameless self-promoting.
Already, no, we're staying that. We're doing that later.
Listen to my show.
Carl, we are doing that later because.
Fine. I'm Carl. Go on.
That's Carl Mogline. He's doing well. Noah, how are you doing?
Move on.
Noah Taborda, how are you doing back in America?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm jet lagged. I'm tired, and I've been up for a good 19 hours now. Don't wake up at like 4 o'clock. Don't schedule your planes for that when it's an all-day trip. It was tough, but you know what? I'm happy to be back, and I'm happy to be on the show, and I'm happy that I have a fully functional computer that I can do basically everything on, and not a Chromebook. I still like Chromebooks, though.
All right, Noah. Well, first of all, thank you very much. You're a real trooper. Only 5 hours of sleep. I don't know if I'd be able to function. But muchas gracias in Colombia, and thank you very much here in America. I, of course, am your host, Jake Liker. Tonight might be a little bit of a longer show, but when we post the episode on Facebook, we will have timestamps so you can fast forward to the segment of your liking. Quick self-promoting. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Liker, on Instagram, Jake_Liker, like Rookies Roundup on Facebook. Share it with your friends, because it's summer, and for some reason last week's ratings didn't do as well as we had hoped. But don't worry, tonight we have a fantastic show for you. By the way, that opening clip was the Univision call for David Luiz's free kick goal for Brazil to go up 2-0 against Colombia. They would win 2-1. We will talk about that a little later in the show. But we will start with baseball after Carl gets to do his shameless self-promoting. So, Carl, your time to shine.
And Noah, don't forget that Noah has to.
Yes, but you were really itching to self-promote.
Oh, I really like doing it. I'm very good at it. I've got this down to a T. I'm Carl. Go find me on Twitter at Carl_PM. It's with a K. I'm considering changing it to it's with a K because I just feel like that'd be so much easier. It just saves so much time. You know what? I got a couple show. College football on air will be coming back in a couple months. In the Crease with Carl Mogline will hopefully kick up at some point when hockey's actually happening. That's kind of a key part of it. And then I got a new show, The Showdown. I make Noah and Jake and maybe other people debate about things, and then I give them points. It's fun.
Yeah, and there is a winner.
So that's what I got for you, and yeah, keep looking back.
Alright, normally our intros don't try and go past the 5-minute mark. Noah, do you think you could self-promote within the next 10 seconds, or... Never mind, I used up half of your promotion time. Go ahead.
Okay. At Noah Taborda, that's a capital N and a capital T. Follow Kicking It with Jake and Noah. That's basically how it is. Follow Blake and Noah, LA to Chicago, exactly how it sounds. Follow Tiswold. Follow... No, that's it.
Okay, well,
That's show you wanted to listen to. TYSWLT.
that was 11 seconds, but America's had spoken back. The intros are now...
No!
It's okay, the self-promotion is done. We are at the 5:20 mark. First, we're going to start off with something that we promised you last show, and we didn't come through with. You know, when we break our promises, we make sure to to fulfill them. So, right here, right now, because we were never able to ask Noah later in the show. Noah, who has the best teeth in the NBA?
I mean, I really hate to disappoint you and the rest of my fans who really wanted to find out who has the best teeth. I've been unable to find it, but I have been working on an algorithm to calculate who has the best teeth. And I am pretty sure that this will be one of the biggest breakthroughs in statistics in the history of sports.
Look out for sabermetrics. Now it's dental metrics? Who knows? I hope if they actually do if they ever do like a smile study, I hope it's conducted by Colgate University. That'd be just too perfect.
I'm gonna have to bring this algorithm into every sport though.
So sadly there's no Crest University. And then they can make a movie instead of Moneyball, Money
Does that
Teeth.
mean for hockey you get like subtracted for teeth missing something?
No, you can build fake teeth.
Duncan Keith is not that high up on the list.
Okay.
Yeah, neither is Dustin Brown, but it's okay because he has championships. Sorry, Carl, that wasn't supposed to be a shot at you. That wasn't supposed to be a shot at you. That was me bathing.
We both have championships. Carl has to sit there and lose.
I apologize. It was me bathing in victory. Go Kings go. But for real now, let's begin. Speaking of Moneyball, the Oakland A's have made an interesting move, and you know what? They might just be for real. Acquiring from the Chicago Cubs their two top pitchers, including Jeff Samardzija, who made his debut with the A's earlier today, gave up just one earned run in 7 innings. All 5 starting pitchers in the rotation for the Oakland A's have top 40 ERAs in the MLB. And they also have the best record in Major League Baseball. Guys, are finally the Oakland A's for real? Noah.
Well, I think it's rude to say they weren't for real before. I think that they had some holes, but I do think that they were a good team before. I mean, they were the best team in baseball. And I think that's pretty substantial. But now they just got better. Of course, they are in a division where they have the Angels that are literally right on their tail, so they needed the help. But I think now, especially now, I think they have the best rotation in baseball, or that's at least how it seems. You have guys, of course, like Sonny Gray, Jesse Chavez. You have Jason Hamill now. You got Scott Kazmir, who has had an amazing year, and I don't think there's really a hole. Even their, I guess, now their pitchers that won't be pitching, their other starting pitchers, we're still having phenomenal years, and I don't think you can take away this team really improved their chances for a World Series this year.
Yeah, sorry, I went a little bit in and out there, but again, we are broadcasting downstairs tonight because the family is asleep. Family first, as they say. But downstairs, the connection isn't as great, but I'm sure we'll be able to live with it. Either way, Oakland does have a fantastic rotation, a good point here. And when I say are they for real, I should clarify. Do you think that the Oakland A's will win the World Series? Now, Robert Dieters has just messaged me saying he would like to call in. He's a San Francisco Giants fan, and he's the president of National Sports. So before I call Robert, I'm going to let Carl take his turn, and then I'm going to let Robert give his hot take on this topic.
All right, first, I don't think that you have to think that they will win the World Series. I'm sorry, only one team can win, and not one team is for real, I'd say.
No, I know. I didn't mean it like that. I don't know.
5 or 6.
That was a wording
I'm saying they
error.
have but I'm going to say they do have the ability. They do have the ability. They have an exciting team. They score lots of runs. I think it's going to be really interesting for Samardzija if he ends up pitching in the playoffs. Because the fact is, he spent his entire career with the Cubs. He's had a very up and down career, honestly. Right now he's pitching, all right, currently his ERA at 2.83, but it was up in the 8s of just a few years ago. You know, he was pitching up and down, not pitching lots of innings. But the last 3 years, he's been pitching pretty solidly, and especially this year with a 2.83 ERA. He's just been really good for a Cubs team that isn't, and that's an impressive ERA. Very little run support, which leads to a bad win-loss record, but Samardzija is a great pickup. I think this is a great trade, and I think this team was already a contender, but I think you've got to look at them as the favorite to make it to the World Series and possibly a favorite to win it.
Really quickly, before Dietrich comes in, can we just say that I feel bad for Samardzija because he cannot pitch now his first All-Star game because of the league switch?
Yeah, that's a little sad.
Yeah, but the All-Star game is
terrible.
terrible.
You know what? Maybe he'll actually say,
you know, Derek Cheater was
I
actually
think he'd rather pitch in
voted
the playoffs than pitch in an All-Star game.
Well, that's a very good point. We'll see what points Robert Dieters has to say. 10:48, no rest for the weary, as they say. Robert Dieters. You know, no one ever fails to surprise me here. I thought that no one would be listening live, but as the dedicated president of National Sports Network, I shouldn't have doubted you. Robert, how are you doing, and what do you think about your local rival, Oakland Athletics?
You don't consider Oakland as a rival if you ever watch the games, family-friendly ballpark, but nevertheless, you've got to be pretty happy if you're the freaking Oakland Athletics. Yeah, you got rid of one of your top prospects, but you already have a Jesse Chavez, Sonny Gray, and Scott Kastner down there, and you gave Eric O'Flaherty back. Now you get Jeff Samardzija, dude, you got to be happy. I mean, this team is going in the right direction. The pitching staff is great, and the offense produces runs. And this is what I like about the Oakland Athletics. They're pretty much using both sides of the ball very well. And they're making the right moves at the right time. Billy Beane knows what he's doing with Oakland Athletics.
All right. Well, as a San Francisco Giants fan, I mean, I've sort of experienced local teams coming on the rise. As a Laker fan, I've sort of not been exactly supportive of the Clippers' rise to success. Even as a Giants fan, you said you don't really consider the A's a rival. Does that mean you would be rooting them on? Should they make the playoffs and the Giants won't? If they don't.
You're doing this to me, man. I'll tell you right now, the Oakland Athletics, of course, have a way better chance than the Giants just making the playoffs. That's like, they're struggling, man. It sucks. It's the pitching, and I gotta say, the hitting hasn't been great. We are not producing runs. Giants aren't producing runs at all. I'm glad we got Brandon Belt back because I brought us a big bat back, but it's up to the Giants. But Oakland, man, Scott Kastner's got 10 wins this season. He's got 2.53 ERA. He's almost got 100 strikeouts this season, and I know the closing role for this team didn't really plan out, you could say, for Oakland Athletics, but when you had Sean Doolittle really step up this season, I thought, wow, this is actually going to be a pretty good squad because he has already 13 saves this season. One thing I was really, surprised about was Jim Johnson. He really just struggled and didn't really find his groove with the Oakland Athletics and had a great season with the Orioles, and now it just comes to Oakland and pretty much doesn't do anything at all. But I gotta say, the Oakland Athletics has made a pretty good move just made a really good trade during the season and brought 2 starting pitchers to Oakland, and potentially this team could be scary in playoffs.
I certainly agree. Robert, thank you for calling in. As always, I look forward to seeing you. It's July. We meet up in LA in August. I'm pumped. See you then. Looking forward to you, and thank you as always for calling in.
Alright, no problem. Go Athletics, make a playoff run, maybe win that World Series.
Robert Dieters, president of national sports. You can have your opinion about him, but he is dedicated, and he does listen to most of, if not all, the shows. He made some points there that you can't really argue with. If a team is producing runs, and they're producing more runs than the other team, then they will win games. So there is another side to this grid. How do the A's get the Cubs to starting pitchers? And does it benefit the Cubs? The Chicago Cubs are looking at a very different scenario than the Oakland Athletics right now, who I do believe at this point will win the World Series. And I'm excited to see what they will do. It'd be a great story for a team who doesn't exactly have a great budget or stadium. But what about the Chicago Cubs? They've also had their struggles in the past, and is this turning things around? Was it good to sort of give away your two best starting pitchers? You did get some good prospects in return. Noah, the details and your thoughts.
Well, of course, let's start with this. Chicago, of course, got one of the top prospects, if not the top prospect, in the A's system, Addison Russell, the shortstop. They also got Dan Straley, who had a terrific year last year and then has dropped off. I think that's actually one of the more underrated pieces of this deal because he's going to come in and actually be someone who can pitch in their rotation right now. I think a lot of Cubs fans are focusing on the point that they got another shortstop, which could prove interesting given the fact that the Cubs now have one of the deepest shortstop positions with Javier Baez, who is their number 1 prospect and the number 6 prospect according to MLB.com. Addison Russell, who's the number 11 prospect shortstop. And also Arismendi Alcantara, who's the shortstop / second baseman, who's the number 71 prospect. Not to mention Starlin Castro, who's their starting shortstop. So that I think that raises an interesting point to see what will happen, who will be traded for Castro. This probably means that despite a great year, he could find himself wearing a different uniform. Maybe not this year, but maybe next year. Overall, I think it's a great trade for the Cubs. They added another top prospect to what is already a phenomenal team, and they added a starting pitcher, which is I think what most teams were worried about and are overlooking.
Yeah, I think that in the end, while they haven't exactly boosted the pitcher position, they've grown young talent again. It doesn't look like they'll be making a big run this year, so they've decided they're going to stack up for the future. Chicago Cubs again at 38-48, last place in the NL Central. Just to clarify what this trade was, Jason Hamill, Jeff Smarja, the Cubs sent those two aces to the Oakland A's in return for top prospect shortstop Addison Russell, outfielder Billy McKinney, and pitcher Dan Straley. Again, I'm going to agree with Noah on this one that it's helpful for both teams. We've already looked at the Oakland A's point of view here. That's a very scary rotation. For the Cubs, we've seen the Astros really botch some trade talks. Apparently, documents were leaked saying that the Astros turned down a potential deal for Giancarlo Stanton. And here we see Chicago really investing in the future. They're only 10 games under 500, but they're realistic. They know it's not going to make anything big happen. And so they've decided to build for the future. Carl, would you agree with this, or do you think the Cubs have made a mistake giving away two very talented pitchers?
Here's the fact. Right now, the Cubs have had no offense this year. They're 24th in the MLB with only 330 runs scored so far. This Cubs team, I gotta say, I recently went to a Cubs game, and it's surprisingly prevalent because Samardzija was actually pitching. And I gotta say, he pitched incredibly well. He only allowed one earned run over, I believe it was 7 innings. He pitched incredibly well, but he had almost no run support. The Cubs ended up coming back, and then the Reds ended up beating them. But that's a different story. The thing is, the Cubs have had many issues scoring runs this entire year, and they need offense, and it's good to build up a system. They know it's unrealistic to keep their pitching staff up, especially with Samardzija, who, you know what, towards 2017 or so. So Samar's just already out by then. This is a good, I guess, overall move for the Cubs. They're finally being realistic. They're getting it out of their head that they can be a contender right now.
Can we really quickly also just say how good their team will be batting wise because of the system? Like their wins, like having Bucks and Sano. This team is bringing in Baez at shortstop potentially, or at third base because of his fielding. But they also have Chris Bryant at third base, who's been blowing it up. Addison Russell, of course, as we just mentioned. Jorge Soler in the and Rizzo has had a terrific year. The list just goes on, and I think that's probably what's the best thing about this trade is because they add depth, because you never know what's going to happen with the prospect. Nothing's guaranteed, so they just give themselves a lot more options.
Yeah, I believe at this point the Cubs' World Series-less streak is at 105 years in a row, so maybe a century of heartbreak and torment might just be over, with a brighter future looking up. But speaking of the Oakland A's, they were involved in an issue with the Baltimore Orioles about a month ago. This is a topic I wanted to talk about, but shows get full. I figured that this still is a prevalent topic, and we all could have some good talking points here. So I'm just going to read an ESPN article from June 9th, 2014. I'm not going to read it. Basically what happened was, it was a series between the Baltimore Orioles and Manny Machado claimed that there was no ill intent Sunday after being at the center of another heated dugout clearing confrontation with the Oakland Athletics. I am reading the article, by the way. Quote, this time, Oakland left-hander Fernando Abad threw inside to Machado in the 8th inning of Baltimore's 11-1 loss to the A's. The bat flew out of Machado's hands and went down the third base line. Both players exchanged words before benches and bullpens emptied. Both Machado and Abad were ejected. Crew chief Larry Vanover said Machado was ejected for throwing the bat, and Abad was tossed for throwing at him a second time. Machado said that the bat slipped out of his hands. He was trying to make contact, and the umpire thought it was intentional. He tossed me at that point. The umpire thought it was intentional, so I guess at that point you got to toss the pitcher and the hitter at the same time. And, sometimes benches clear, but guess what? This was the second time of that 3-game series. The previous Friday, Machado didn't like the force of the tag by Oakland third baseman Josh Donaldson, and the two had to be separated. It's ridiculous how easily benches can clear these days. I mean, he didn't like the tag. He touched me too hard. The force of the tag, I didn't appreciate. Come on. So, this might be a little bit of a rookie's rant, but here's what I'm going to say. The idea that benches clear over argument, it's ridiculous. I don't care if it's customary. It's out of control. Because when everybody comes out, at least 90% of the players that are there aren't doing anything. Punches aren't being thrown. There's no reason the game should have to be delayed. I personally believe that if it's unnecessary, teams need to start being penalized for clearing the benches. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's oversensitive. And it makes absolutely no sense. It's uncivilized. It's ridiculous. Grow a thicker skin. What is it with baseball? I mean, I'm being drawn further and further away from baseball, and this is yet another reason. Get over it. I understand wanting to stand up for your teammate, and if he did hit Machado, for example, and if that tag actually knocked Machado over, maybe it's a different story. But it's like players are looking for an excuse to run out to the field when they don't want to. I mean, we're talking about stadium security. I'm a little more worried about actual players that shouldn't be on the field running out there than streakers. It's insane. It's ridiculous. Do you guys think there should be a harsher punishment for benches clearing, Carl?
I don't know how you initiate this, but I think, at some point there should. I mean, it's just really hard to think of an exact rule, obviously, and I think that's the biggest issue, and the way you handle this has to be tactful, really, because otherwise you're going to just... most other leagues have very few issues. This is the only league where benches clearing is a major issue. Rarely do hockey benches clear. Rarely do entire football sidelines go running onto the field. Rarely do entire Allen Iversons go running into the stand. Rarely do these things happen. All I'm saying is that the rules need to be implemented carefully, but they need to be implemented. The fact is that unless there's somebody already been punched, if there was already, a guy who's been hit multiple times in a game, that's when it happens. And that I'm a little more okay with. But the fact is, you got tagged a little hard. Sorry, but get over yourself. Manny Machado, I used to like, but these recent antics have made it very hard to like. He's come off more as an entitled child almost, similar to the way Bryce Harper is sometimes can't come off to people. The fact is, baseball is known as America's pastime, and you're playing it like you are the first one who's ever touched a baseball bat. I'm sorry, you're not. So, I don't know how you do it, but there's got to be some way to check these kids' rookies. These rookies' heads and check their egos out the door because, we can't accept this in MLB, and I don't think we should accept this really in any sports.
Yeah, well, I mean...
There you go.
Yeah. Yes, a rookie may be starting at it, but forget about rookies. I still don't understand why the entire team, young players, old players, I don't understand why the entire team has to clear the bench. I mean, let's just read exactly what Machado said about Donaldson tagging him too hard. Quote, didn't agree on the tag, right play, he made the right play, but just didn't agree on the tag that he made on me, and I just had to get up and confront him. You get in the heat of the moment and things start flying. It's part of the game. To be separated. Does it take every single person on the bench? It's stupid. I know this isn't a strong debate, but it's stupid. Noah, you've been quiet for a while, which is kind of my fault because I haven't called on you. Your thoughts on this?
Well, let's start with this. Here's what I learned from Yasiel Puig. And this is why I don't dislike Manny Machado, and I think Jake will agree with me here. Yasiel Puig had a lot of bad antics, but over the past couple of months, he started to prove himself once again as a guy who is taking himself more seriously. So sure, Manny Machado has made mistakes, but he's still young and he still has time to change and do better, and up until this point, he's taken it in stride. So I'm going to lay off not liking him right now, but I do understand, Carl, definitely where you're coming from. When it comes to the bench clearing, I understand why the whole team clears, because you want to have your teammates back, but really, you don't really need to do this, and I think that you do have to come down on them, of course, and say, look, I mean, obviously, you got to say, look, if you do this, you're going to get a suspension, so people stop doing it. I think if you don't, they'll just keep doing it, and I think there are going to be times when there will be bench clearing involved, and it's going to be unavoidable, but there is a way to reduce the amount so that the avoidable is avoided. And I think a good way would be to have a penalty or a suspension, but not for everybody, of course. Only for people who are active.
No, I think they should suspend the entire team. So you just call up the entire minor league team.
Everybody's suspended. You're all suspended for the season.
Yeah, that's the problem. How do you start handing out suspensions? Because the guys at the center of it are already being suspended, and I don't know if you really want to let a team forfeit a game for clearing, especially in a case where it might be necessary and you do need to back up your guy and there is a brawl. But there needs to be some sort of deterrent that happens here, because there's just no reason for this. Fines. Let's go with fines. If you really think that you're...
The problem is I never felt like fines worked.
Fines are not.
I've never seen that fines work.
No. But I'm saying if it's something is... If it's meaningless, if it's as meaningless enough as this, then you know what? If it's as meaningless enough as a tag, I don't think they're going to spend $5,000 to just trot up there with everybody else. Just stay inside, kids. Stay inside. Stay in the dugout, and it'll be okay. And if it is serious, you know what? Let's see if you're willing to spend $5,000 to help your team. I know $5,000 isn't that much, but it's intentional. It's a good number for them that it'll deter them from running out for no reason. But it's not enough to bother them if they do need to actually go out there and support their teammate.
I think that fines, and I've seen this a lot in the NFL even, is that they rarely work. I feel like they don't end up deterring as much as just kind of being there for something, especially or even flopping in the NBA. That seems to be one of those fines where nobody really cared if they got fined.
Well, yes.
Carl, I'm not 100% agree with him, Carl. These people have paychecks that make most people paychecks look silly. A $5,000 fine to them, that's like what they're going to pay for their breakfast. That's like nothing.
So you want to find a guy?
It's not enough, unfortunately.
Are we going to
fines aren't enough to stop them, unfortunately. Maybe for some of the less important people in the brawl or in the bench clearing, but for the people who are
Okay, let's say
Can I
this.
say one thing about
Okay,
fining?
hold
I think
on.
the only way to do fines fairly, though, is to make it a percentage of salary. Sure, that's the only way to really make it fair. If you say it's a percentage of your salary, because that means that it hits the same players and it doesn't give bigger players the easier way to get out of the dugout.
True, but for some guys, that could still be a lot of money. I think that you have to go with the dollar.
That means that
You know what? There are certain rights. There are certain rights that you get.
So, but here's my suggestion for less involved people, for the people on the outskirts. If you decide to clear the ball, there is a penalty. It's not going to be too high because you're really not involved in a fine that's limited. But if you are actively involved in the bench clearing brawl, if you are in the middle and you are basically the perpetrator in this scenario, then I do think there has to be a suspension.
But I think there kind of already is.
I agree, there already is.
I think you just gotta keep.
I'm
keep
gonna
suspending.
I'm gonna say that we need to incorporate fines because here's the thing: okay, how about this? If you're the backup catcher for the Oakland A's and you're sitting in that dugout, let's say you know what, you're really good for a backup catcher. You make $5 million a year, and you are sitting on that bench. Are you going to still run out there for the sake of running out there, knowing that it's going to cost you $5,000?
My team is going out there. You have to understand the peer pressure in this too.
Correct.
No, they don't care. Jake, $5,000, literally, they're going to be thinking, really?
And you also said they made $5 million. You kind of killed your own scenario.
No,
If
I'm
you're
saying
making $5 million, $5,000 is nothing. Even after taxes.
What would you like? What would you like? 25,000?
No, I think again, you have to make it a percentage. Jake, you have to make it a percentage, otherwise it doesn't go through.
Okay, think of it this way. How about the millionaire in Norway who got a parking ticket? In Norway, they do it as a percentage system, so he had to pay a $250,000 parking ticket. Percentage fines don't work, in my mind.
Unfortunately, if you fine $5,000 for a lower level player, it may actually have a difference. But if you it's like if Miguel Cabrera decides to run out there and you fine him $5,000, he'll laugh at the check. He'll laugh at the fine.
He'll probably actually pay $10,000 just to be nice.
Yeah, no, they could pay more and they still wouldn't care. It's not enough. You know how much $5,000? What percentage of that of his salary per year that is? He makes what, like $22 million a year?
That's fair. But I'm worried about now what happens in the cases where you do need to go out. But here's the thing: do you ever really need to go out there?
Just so you know, that's oops, never mind. I messed up. Keep going.
Do you ever need to though? Like, tell me a situation where
that's the thing. You don't need to. You don't. You're right. Percentage fine it is, but I think we can all agree here that this childish bench clearing needs to.
Just so you know, that's.
Do
you want to know how much of a percentage of his salary that is per year?
Ah.
2.727272%.
All right.
Because that matters to him.
Yeah.
That matters to me.
I'll take the $5. You know, if he wants to give it a little extra money, I'm always available.
We are
We can
all.
start finding them. No, we should become the guys who find them, and they have to pay us for
Great idea.
the funds.
All right. Well, let's move on. Interesting debate there. We'll see if we see any changes in the future. Oh my gosh. How did I forget to write this down in the script? We have to talk about the following.
I don't know.
Here,
following,
what is the following?
following.
Here's what it is. A show on Fox that may or may not have been canceled. I'm not sure. No. In a book coming out,
I
a
don't
biography
know.
about Alex Rodriguez, steroids in Major League Baseball, says that the MLB gave Alex Rodriguez permission to take performance-enhancing drugs in his 2007 MVP season. It goes on to say that he had low testosterone